What's up, guys? Welcome back to Unqualified Critics. And if you like the channel, you know what to do. Make sure you are subscribed. Click the notification button when you do that, and you're going to get more content from me. Thanks so much for watching. So I've got something on my mind, and I want to share it with you guys and see what you think. But before we get into that, I do wanted to show this post from Justin Wong, who's an employee at Arcade1Up now. Of course, he's a professional game player. It's how probably most of you guys have heard of him. But anyway, he's got his child here playing the Miss Pac-Man cocktail, or sorry, the Miss Pac-Man, I'm so used to saying the cocktail version, the Miss Pac-Man countercade. And it looks really cool. I love that they're doing light up marquees on these now. I think it is a nice upgrade. And as some people on Reddit pointed out, they probably need to take the saran wrap off your control panel. But looks good, I think. I don't have a bar for these at home, but if I did, I would consider probably getting one. Or maybe I'd put my arcade up there. I don't know. I'd think about it. All right, so next I want to talk about the long-term viability of a lot of these products. So I bet some of you have had this thought too. When I started buying Arcade1Ups, before I had Nat Games Legends or the iArcade, I started with Arcade1Ups. I know a lot of you did. And it was always in the back of my mind, man, when this stuff breaks, what are we left with? But the reality was back then you had, you had a trackball, you had joysticks, you had buttons. These are very easily user replaced. When the monitor dies, that's a little tougher because it's an LVDS screen, which is a little weird, but you can get adapters. The reality is you can replace the monitor, you can replace the buttons and joysticks pretty easily. It can be done. So you think, all right, this won't last forever, but over time, parts can be replaced and we can keep it moving. The only thing really would be then the PCB. When that dies, well, you lost your games. And we don't know how long those PCBs are going to last. Now, the early Arcade1Ups, those PCBs run very, very, very cool. They're doing very little in that cabinet. They're simply emulating very simple games. So those might last a really long time. But I'm a little more worried as we go into the future. I hope we can get some assurance from all of these companies, not just Arcade1Up, but also at games, especially if they start, they're getting into Lightgun tech. They're getting into steering wheels potentially. It's a little easier with them because their cabinet's already modular. If you buy the light guns, you're adding it. So you'd presumably be able to buy other light guns later and add those. And we know the Legends Ultimate works with other light guns that aren't specifically made by At Games. So you kind of have flexibility there. But when you look at the Arcade1Ups, the light guns that they have with Buck Hunter are proprietary. Yeah, it's just a webcam. I'm sure it's just some basic generic webcam, but the software is such that you can't just plug in your own light gun. So what happens when that camera dies? What happens when it gets busted because somebody throws it against the wall or whatever? So what happens then? I also think that too about the racing cabinets. What happens when those pedals break? Will there become a third-party marketplace where people build these replacement parts? Totally possible. We know Glenn from Glenn's Retro Show has been doing a killer job providing replacement parts, spinners and trackballs and all that. So it could happen. But what if it doesn't? And these pinballs especially, you have mechanical parts. You have these solenoids which are going to be firing and moving in the cabinet to give you that feedback. And when they give you that feedback, mechanical action is happening. You guys know how it is. Anything mechanical, eventually it will fail. Now, I'm not talking about warranty here. I'm not saying Arcade1Up should provide free replacement parts forever, or even 2 years, or maybe even 1 year. I'd like to see a 1-year warranty, but I understand that that's expensive to support. But what I really want to see is an arcade company that sells these replacement parts. So why am I bringing all this up now? Well, Cooltoy, I guess in his video mentioned, hey, my solenoid stopped firing on the Arcade1Up pinball that I got from Arcade1Up as a pre-production unit, a review unit. And a lot of people were concerned about that, and look, rightly so. I'm concerned about that too. By the way, is it going to change my mind and I'm not going to get attacked from Mars now? No, I'm still going to get attacked from Mars. But as consumers, I think, deserve to have the right to be able to repair a lot of this stuff. And I know right to repair is its own thing, its own category, its own meme. But I think it really applies here because these pinball tables are large. This big Buck Hunter cabinet is large. When this stuff breaks, it's just stuck in our basements. We can't do anything with it other than maybe sell it for parts. Well, that sucks. That's a big deal. That's a lot of landfill waste. It's a lot of waste in our house. So over time, it's going to become more and more important. Again, those older cabinets, everything was pretty much modular on them that you could use or replace, except the PCB. But the PCBs run at a really low temperature, so those are probably going to last for many years. But what about Buck Hunter, where the PCB runs at a much higher temperature? Or Outrun, which, judging by the noise of the fan, runs the highest of them all somehow, which blows my mind that would be more demanding than Buck Hunter, but who knows? As we get into newer games, we're going to have more PCB failure because of heat. I mean, it's virtually inevitable. Yeah, you can scale up the cooling, but then now you have a mechanical fan. So failure is going to happen, and failure is going to happen with the pinballs. It already has happened. It's not about that this was a pre-production unit. Well, when you build a product in small quantities to send out to hand-selected reviewers, are you going to put your better quality components in or your worst quality components? I mean, come on, you're going to put your best foot forward with that, and you're going to get reviews. And is it possible mistakes were made and they used, a poorly built board that fried in 2 months that isn't representative for production units? Yeah, I mean, it's possible, but do I believe that? No, and I don't really think you guys should believe it either. Think about when At Games sent out review units for the crappy handheld things way back when, before they do these nice arcade products. I'm talking about old At Games. They'd send out crappy review units to YouTubers to review handheld arcade game, and it played arcade ROMs. But then when the general public bought it at wherever they bought it from, they played console ROMs. They put their best foot forward when they're sending it out to YouTubers. Yeah, I mean, anything's definitely possible, and maybe, your and my scaler boards are safe versus ones Arcade 1-Up sent out themselves to be reviewed are different. That's possible. I just kind of doubt it. And I really would love if Arcade 1-Up, and for that matter, At Games, although I think the stakes are lower for them because they have more of an open ecosystem, so you can more readily mod it yourself. But I'd really like to see Arcade 1-Up come out and say, look, here's our pledge. We're going to support our products with replacement parts that you can buy for, I mean, God, imagine if they gave us 2 years even. Three to 5 years would be awesome. But what if they came out and said, for 2 years, if we're still in business, you will be able to go to our store and buy a replacement part for Buck Hunter if it breaks. I don't expect the parts to be free. I don't even expect the parts to be particularly cheap. You're selling proprietary parts. You got a captive audience. You could charge a few bucks, but you really need to offer that. And I think if they did offer that, it would be a tremendous source of goodwill and it's accessory income. I mean, what's the big deal? I'm just asking for the privilege to be able to buy some stuff, and I hope that they do that. I think historically it's not been that important. They haven't really needed to do it. So what if your spinner on Asteroids broke, right? If you had a version 1 Asteroids, that spinner was trash. Just go get the GRS spinner. So what if your trackball broke on the Atari 12-in-1 board? Actually not so what, because that one had a custom wiring harness, so you kind of needed the Arcade 1-Up one unless you wanted to create your own wiring harness, which most people aren't going to want to do. But let's say the Centipede cabinet. So what if that dies? You can buy a much better trackball from Glenn at Glenn's Retro Show, which I would recommend. I hear that trackball is amazing, and I know his spinner is amazing. But is that a real strategy for a company that's as big now as Arcade 1-Up, has many customers as they do? I think it's great to have options to upgrade, but I think they need to offer the core components for, forget about Asteroids, it wasn't a big deal. It is a big deal with Buck Hunter, especially when you're asking people to spend $500, $550, $600. It is a big deal that we can buy replacement relay boards for pinball. It is a big deal that we can buy a replacement pedal set for Outrun and other future racing cabinets. So I'm making this video because I very much hope they do the right thing and they provide these replacement parts for sale. Doesn't need to be today, doesn't need to be tomorrow, but over time these parts are going to fail, and I don't want our stuff to just end up being trash. A lot of us collect these, we like them, we care about them, they're fun to have. We love our Legends Ultimate, and I should mention too, I've seen a lot of comments of people saying online, hey, if your PCB on your Legends Ultimate dies, you can't get a replacement. So that's a problem too. I'm not meaning to single out At Games. I just think because At Games does more of these proprietary controllers, it's going to be more common with them. But At Games has haptic feedback built into their Legends pinball, so it applies there. And of course, then they've got some proprietary components on their Legends Ultimate even that need to be able to be made replaced. You don't want people online saying, hey, if you buy this, you're on your own. You want people online saying, hey, if you buy this, you're going to be able to enjoy it for a lot of years. That's all. Curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Much love to everyone. Not saying this to flame anyone, just wanted to give you guys my take. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Consider joining the channel if you want to support us, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey, consider hitting that join button to support the channel, and thanks so much for watching.